Good morning. Again, I'd just like to bring a reading from 1 Peter 3:15. But give reverent honour in your hearts to the United One, and treat him as the holy master of your lives. And if anyone asks you about the hope living within you, always be ready to explain your faith with gentleness and respect. Maintain a clear conscience so that those who slander you for living a pure life in Christ will have to lie about you and will be ashamed because of their slander. For it is better to suffer for doing good. We're talking about your story. And briefly to recap on yesterday, there's 3 stories. There's their story, the people you're talking to. There's your story, how you became a Christian, and there's God's story. And we want to place emphasis on God's story, which is that he sent his son, Jesus Christ. So, your story. What were you like before you had faith? You don't have to go into detail. It's not a competition to see who bad or how bad everybody is. You know, Paul used the term, I was the chief of all sinners. I very often use the term, I seen the other side of midnight. So people get an understanding that you come from maybe a difficult background. I come from an unsavory background. Or it may be that your story is that you come from a church background, but you still have a testimony. And there came a point in your life when you realized that although you went to church, that there was something different about other people. And we would use the term personal relationship with Jesus. People don't always understand that term. So you can use the term, I went to church, but I didn't really know God, or I didn't fully know God. So you need to talk a little bit about what it was like before you were Christian. And then a very important part of your story is how you came to faith, how you became a Christian. You can't use the terms, oh, I was born again, I gave my life to Jesus. You have to explain those terms. And so rather than using the catchphrase that we're used to in church, you use the term, I realized that I needed God. I realized that I couldn't live this life on my own. And I prayed to God. I cried out to God. I believe it's a good thing to reference that prayer, to reference that point in your life. And the more accurate it is, the better. For me, I was in the house in Sheriff Street in late September. Me and Linda held hands and we said, God, we need you. And then finally, what it's like as a Christian in a pandemic, how you're feeling. I need to challenge you on this. If we say everything is great, we know people know when we're not telling the truth, especially people that know. So we can be honest about our anxieties, but we can also have the cravat that, yeah, I do feel a bit anxious, but deep down I know that Jesus is in control and that he is in my life, so therefore I can trust him for whatever happens during this time and during my life. So think about those things. Take a piece of paper or your iPad, take 20-30 minutes, think about it, write it down, and then I'm going to ask you something about your testimony tomorrow, and it's going to be a great challenge. We've a little bit of time on our hands, so take the time to write your testimony down and then tune back in tomorrow and I'll tell you about a challenge.